A lot of mornings I don't know who I'm going to interview. I roll over and uh, 2 days ago I saw a 50 Cent new song. He's supposed to do it today. I called him and said, "Yo, 50, come on." He's okay, but I can't find him. And then I got a phone call from a brother who
Bad
I
boy,
hadn't
baby.
spoken to in a very long time. I'm known for a very, very long
Loon.
time. And he just came home from prison.
Yeah, it's your turn
The
now,
same
kid.
as a lot of
Yeah,
us go to
come
prison
on,
for drugs.
Show 'em
young,
what you got.
be that young handsome cat, same color chocolate,
Locked up
same
for the
pop,
guilt.
same
There.
gotcha. Loon ain't no
And
lame, Loon never gossip.
black people in jail. I remember the rate was 95% of the black people, or people who were in jail for the Rockefeller drug law, 95% were black and brown. So he suffered a lot, but also his spirituality and his life experience has grown. You know, when they sit you by yourself, you learn a lot about yourself. And he's really a very evolved person, in my opinion, very evolved. And I'm very, very happy to be speaking to him now. I know that he's had a lot of the artists have reached out to him since he's been home. But his name is Loon. For you guys who know hip hop, you know Loon, right? Everybody knows Loon. So I'm going to speak to him, and I want to know what's on his mind because he's really an inspiration to a lot of people, having endured so much, taking on a deeply, deeply spiritual kind of presence and a deep investment in Islam, which has made him, I think, a much more worthy and special person. So we'll see, because I haven't had that much dialogue with him myself. So,
Okay.
brother, it's good to see you first. And
Always a pleasure.
what we were talking about, and about the sameness of religion,
Yeah,
all those books matter to you, right?
absolutely. I mean, the thing is, you know, messengers and prophets have been sent to nations in confession. You know what I'm saying? All preaching the same thing, to worship God and God alone. Now, when you speak about, our natural disposition, meaning our natural inclination to that oneness, you know what I'm saying? That can only be corrupted. You know what I'm saying? But your natural disposition is that we know who our creator is. That's why when people think about the Most High or God, you instinctively look up. You don't look left, you don't look right, you don't look under things. You instinctively look up. So this is a mercy from your creator that he created you to know who he is and know where he is. Because if he's the most high, he can't be everywhere. Now his knowledge is everywhere. This is why he sent messengers, he revealed books. So this is what's tangible to us. You know what I'm saying? But when the law says he's the most high, that means he's above all of his creation. And it doesn't befit his majesty to have similarities or so on and so forth, to be made, similar to his creation and so on and so forth. For example, you look at a hand on a clock and you look at your hand, nothing similar to it. But that's a hand. That clock has a hand. But instinctively, we try to give it 5 fingers. We try to give it something that looks like our hand. But if Allah says he has a hand, we have a hand. We don't even get into it. He said he had a hand, he had a hand. We don't try to make tamthil, likeness or, ta'til. We don't try to interpret it any kind of way, so on and so forth. And that's where some of the discipline comes in with belief, is acceptance. Sometimes we allow our intellect to get away from us. The next thing you know, we're conjuring up things, that have no evidence, no empirical evidence or anything to support that claim or that belief. So when you stick to the simplicity of understanding the foundation of things, the purpose why we created, so on and so forth, and the more you immerse yourself in that understanding, the more free you become. You know what I'm saying? Because when one becomes a slave of the Most High, you free yourself from every other form of slavery. You can't be a slave to nothing else. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when you were running, Def Jam. I work for us. I don't work for nobody else. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to answer to nobody else. You know what I'm saying? I work for Russ. That's who I'm going to deal with. I ain't got to talk to no secretaries, no A&Rs, no nobody. I work with Russ directly. That's who I answer to. That's who, I confide in, so on and so forth. And that's the simplicity of the relationship. that we all have with our Creator, whether we choose to submit to His will or not.
Whether we choose it
But we
or
create,
not, we're stuck with it.
whether we choose it or not. Yeah,
I always say,
yeah,
we could go on for an hour about the sameness of religion and what it does
yeah,
for us and how it lifts us out of, and I like to even use, spirituality, the sameness of it, and how the rules are simple. They're written over and over again by different prophets and different words and different colors from different parts of the world, but they're always the same. So there must be some truth in them. And then when we follow them, what do we learn? Happiness comes in. Happiness comes when we follow Scripture, and when we understand it properly, follow it, then we get a load off our mind. It's God's work. We don't have to worry no more.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
all right, let's start with Loon. You told me that we met earlier, and I didn't remember that meeting. I remember meeting you when you were becoming a star, but you said I met you when you were real young.
Yeah, on the set of Crush Groove. You know, my godfather was George Jackson. I remember having my little, my little Crush Groove flight jacket. You know what I'm saying? I was 10 years old. I think Crush Groove came out in, 86?
85.
Was it 85? 85. I was born in 75. So I was 10 years old. You know, and on that set, you know, I met you. I met Rick. I met, what's her name? Blair Underwood. I think LL might have been about 15, 16 then.
Yeah.
So, you know, this was something, you know, I was always exposed to, you know, and I was always, you know, and I got a memory like an elephant. That's the crazy thing. You know what I'm saying? I have a memory like an elephant. Because like I also told you, the second time I met you, when I was in LA, you know, I lived in Beverly Hills with George. And he told me he was meeting you, and we went to the movie theater and went to see Sea of Love. I was the only one paying attention to the movie. It was you, him, Kadeem Hardison. I don't know which I was talking about at the time, but you know, I was the only one watching Al
This movie is
Pacino.
Al Pacino. Yeah.
Al Pacino, yeah. I was watching Al Pacino. Y'all was talking about some big business. So it's like, you know, I've always, like I told you when we spoke, being inspired by men who have always had a direct impact in our culture and society. You know, I've always held those experiences in very, very high regard. And I think I come from a generation where, you know, the things we walk away with and understand to be pinnacle in life always came from people who had preceded us. You know what I'm saying? And I've always had a certain type of gravity to that. I never learned nothing from my peers. You know what I'm saying?
Let's start. That's good. That's the best, because our peers are lost in almost every case. It's only history that can give us some direction.
Absolutely.
The collective consciousness could do anything. They could enslave people. They could, you know, when you look back, you say, well, how did we, one day, Loon, I said this to you earlier too, one day we'll look back and say, how did we abuse 200 billion animals per year only to destroy the planet, to give us cancer, and to have a karmic result that is unconscionable. How do we do that shit? How do we have slaves? How did we have the Rwanda experience that we had, or in Nazi Germany? We're capable as a collective of getting very lost. It doesn't take long. But in history, we can look back in many cases and we say, why did we do that? Right? Why? Because the collective can get lost, you know, and they can translate our scriptures to suit them, and they can blame religion.
Yeah.
They can do all of that. So anyway,
Absolutely.
So you learn from people who have experience, who can give you some history and context. That's good. But let's hear, I think people are interested in your early career, in what you've experienced, in your journey, in your incarceration, in your learnings, and in your growth, because that's really, this podcast, The Whole Truth, is really about growth. It's about people who've evolved, and what can our audience learn from those people. You have a lot to offer in that way. So, but
Absolutely.
still, they want to hear. We want to play maybe some of your first songs, right? We'll put them on here. But we want to know how you evolved to be this wise man that sits in front of me today. So,
I believe, like I said, growing up in Harlem, I came from a city like yourself, you resided in Queens, I was in Harlem. And basically, I came from a hustling city. Everything in Harlem was a hustle, like everything. So it was always this certain kind of ingenuity, this kind of zeal for getting a dollar, you know. And the only one, like I said, that was successful is those who stuck close to those who preceded them. Because they understood it. They understood how this thing works. You don't just step out on these streets and just freestyle or make it up as you go. The ones that succeeded and learned and understood was from those who took, knowledge from those that preceded. So this concept has always been embedded in me. Now transitioning out the street, as you know, Russ, like, we didn't have a lot of options. It's one thing I can't say I envy about the youth today because there's a downside to all of this access that they have today, but they definitely have multiple options. You know what I'm saying? So many different avenues, so many opportunities, and so many, means of choosing a particular path that is, directly connected to whatever you aspire to be. But growing up in the ghettos in the 80s and stuff like that, we didn't have these types of options. It was either you played basketball, you sold drugs, you stuck up, whatever the case may be. It was all within the confines of the community. And that was the extent of the opportunity we had. You always had one or two that escaped that, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of them never really looked back. Then a lot of us were so content with what we had, even the ones that did try to come back, we paid them no mind, you know? So music, for me, actually started in the form of poetry. You know what I'm saying? I used to write, stuff as a means or as a therapeutic means. You know what I'm saying? Therapeutic means. You know what I'm saying? To escape some of the reality of what I was dealing with in the street. Because when you convey some of these things, it can be perceived as a sign of weakness or so on and so forth. And I never liked being vulnerable. I never liked ever being perceived as someone that couldn't handle my business or deal with what I was dealing with. So the writing became something that I did secretively, and it was for therapeutic means. Then it evolved into poetry, and then it evolved into me including my imagination to overcome some of the things I was dealing with, you know. And strange story, real good friend of mine found one of my books. You know what I'm saying? I got busted for a car I bought that was tagged up and I got locked up. My man told me don't mess with the car. I ain't listened to him. Bought the car anyway, rolled around and got locked up. And he came and picked me up. You know what I'm saying? He came, bombed me out, picked me up from prison. And I remember him just reciting a line that sounded so familiar. And I thought about it. I'm like, yo, you got my book? He was like, yo, I was reading that stuff. He encouraged me, but, for me, it was like, you got a piece of something that nobody's supposed to know. You know what I mean? I feel violated. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? But instead of discouraging me, he encouraged me, and that it was the first thing that motivated me to pursue a career in music. So in the music business, what most people are familiar with, there's a very beautiful story, and I'm in the process, like I told you, Russ, of doing a documentary, so I don't want to give up way too much, but
people
the
would
thing
see it.
is,
They should know the magic that you've experienced and the growth that you've had. They would want to see it on screen. I don't think you can
definitely,
reveal anything except to make it more
yeah,
exciting, honestly.
yeah.
But go ahead.
But it's like what the music business did for me, because I think I had my own perception of how I wanted to be perceived. And just long story short, when I got with Puff, you know, he looked at things far more broader, you know what I'm saying, than I believe any of his artists ever saw in themselves. I believe this for Biggie, I believe this for Mace, I believe this for anybody, is that we all had this perception of ourselves that we wanted to project, but he saw something that was a little bit more long term, a little bit more lasting, a little bit more meaningful. And I believe that anybody that ever trusted in that, you know, history tells us, they achieve, success. So, I was scheduled to come to Miami and write 2 songs and stay 4 days with Puff. I ended up staying 4 weeks and I wrote 11 songs. And everything just pretty much took off from there, like overnight, and the relationship that I had with Puff is, one of a mentor, one of a brother, one is a friend, one is a party partner, whatever, you know what I'm saying? It was like, there was so many different impressions that those experiences propelled me into so many different circles that were way more broader than the circles I came out of, coming out of the streets of New York. And I sponged a lot of it up. I learned a lot, and I acquired a lot of information and a lot of, knowledge of the business, different cultures, so on and so forth. But because of that singular perception that people had of me, just this guy that need a girl, like I'm just this box of chocolate and rose guy, I'm this hopeless romantic dude, and so on and so forth, there was so much more to Loon. You know what I'm saying? It was so much more to me. And I think after, the heightened sense of the success, there came a point when I started to become a little depressed because it's like, it's so much more than me and no one's getting a chance to see it. No one gets to see past what we put out there as artists. And in my case, it was more commercial, more geared towards women and so on and so forth. But there was something else that was lingering. And actually, Russ, I found myself getting in more trouble because of that. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't pride. It wasn't none of that. It was just this misread. Like, I had made my bones in the street. I was straight. I never had to audition for nobody in the street. People in the street knew who I was. I was respected on both coasts, so on and so forth. A kid. When I moved to LA in '89, I was always bi-coastal. I always had, very strong connections on both coasts. So that was something I never had to do. But because of the success of this particular perception that was put out with me and Puff and the whole thing, I got arrested for attempted murder, kidnapping, aggravated. So I was getting into all sorts of things because I felt like I had to defend, you know what I'm saying, the honor that I earned, opposed to what the public has to their discretion, you know what I'm saying, to interpret however they want. And in most cases, you're dealing with little knucklehead dudes that don't know no better, and they reading off of, like, what a song say or what a video look like, and it's like, dog, you got me twisted. You know what I'm saying? Because some of the most toughest guys that's on this TV and all that, they the ones replacing the same chain, you know what I'm saying, 4 times a year. You know what I'm saying? But you can't see that because I'm the guy that needs a girl. You know what I'm saying? I'm the guy, you know what I'm saying? So it was just crazy because I'm looking at the dude that's supposed to be the epitome of what, you know what I'm saying, my life really was like. They was getting the pass, you know what I'm saying? And I'm the one that's sitting up here, you know what I'm saying, unscathed, going through all kinds of unnecessary auditions just to put myself, in another situation. So I was kind of feeling like, you know what, enough of this stuff, man. Like, how does this end? I think a lot of us get to a point where we start thinking, what's the end game? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've benefited, I've gained wealth, I've seen all the accolades that come with success, The only thing left is the pissing contest of who makes it in the Forbes. And that was probably just the extent of how I saw the music business. Like after you done immerse yourself in all of the other sinful things that come with the music business, the only thing left is the pissing contest between the same 5, 6 guys that end up in the Forbes. You know what I mean? Like that's it. I mean, past that, that was like the epitome of success as far as how I saw it. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think in 2005 I left Bad Boy and I started my own thing. And I basically was on a mission, I guess, to prove to myself and prove to the world that I could do this without Puff. But what happened is I ended up finding something greater than all of that. I found peace. You know what I'm saying? I found the most simplest form of belief and understanding of purpose. Just by traveling the world on a mission completely contrary to what I found. And one thing I learned about being a man, and I'm pretty sure you can contest to this, Russ, is that, boys are confused. Men are not confused about, when we reach that fork in the road, whether we're going to go left or we go right. There's no straddling, there's no skepticism or doubt. What we choose, we stand on. So when I found what I found, and I accepted this blessed religion of Islam, that was the last day I smoked, drank, listened to music, fornicated, whatever the case may be. So it's been 12 years I haven't listened to music. And I mean by choice. I don't press play. Now, if I'm in a barbershop or something, the music is being played, I don't have no choice. I have to fight the whole barbershop if I tell them people to turn their stuff off. But other than that, me, myself, I don't press play. You know what I'm saying? I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't have any vices. So that came from the discipline of not only understanding what I had accepted and what it did for me. It was something that I didn't want to bargain with. I didn't want to play with. I didn't want to straddle. I didn't want to compromise. I didn't want to do any of those things. You know what I'm saying? Because I had finally found what I was looking for, although I didn't know what I was looking for.
Let me interject.
I just knew that.
Let me interject.
Okay.
What each man chooses, different degrees of sacrifice. We have observances in every spiritual practice. In the Yoga Sutras, we have what we call the niyamas. Niyama, the contentment, cleanliness, and dedication, hard work, focus. Service to self, which is swadhyaya, because it's Santosha, Saucha, swadhyaya, giving all your efforts to the greater good, to God. It was the fifth of the 5 niyamas. So the observances, letting go of certain things, the restrictions that we choose so that we can submit. And to different degrees, everyone in every religion, they're taught some things to resist, let go of, because they distract you from your focus on God. So every religion has these, what we call niyamas. And the second of the 8 limbs of yoga, we have these things. And there are yogis who, because we don't eat animals and don't abuse animals for the most part, there are yogis who wear a mask with fishnet so that they don't eat any bugs. They sweep their path so they don't step on any bugs. Now, there's 2 effects to this. You said you found peace through your religion and through your choices. When these religions are forced on people, and this is something I want to make a distinction because people are listening, when they're forced on people, they resent them and sometimes do them more, or sometimes hurt more by them, or sometimes they just can't live up to them. And when they can't live up to them, it causes pain and doesn't bring them closer to God. It makes them resent their higher self because they cannot live in this self. So the fact that you can resist, walk away from, and practice these observances that you've taken on, and a make you peaceful has to be echoed for the audience.
Yeah.
Because, it's like there's always going to be some sacrifice. You get up, take your kid to school, you watch him walk away. First, you didn't want to get up. But then when you watch him walk away, there's a freedom. And they say, bye, Dad. So shit, bye, Dad. You know what I mean? So from these restrictions comes this glow that comes from the inside out. Because it's a bit of a restriction, but you feel better. And then it's a trade-off. And then one day, you don't want what you had to trade off. Not interested. You know it doesn't make you feel good, right? So I want people to understand the kind of sacrifice that you make. And then you say, I can't do that. Well, you don't have to do that. Loon did that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's moderation in this. You know what I'm saying? Like Allah says in the Quran, He says, "La ikraha fi din." There's no compulsion in the religion. So no one can be compelled because it won't be submission. You can't say, I'm a Muslim, I submit to the will of Allah if you're compelled. Submission is a choice. You know what I'm saying? And that submission can come abruptly. You know what I'm saying? It can come in moderation. You know what I'm saying? It can come in the form of negligence, even though the intention is still to submit, but, is at the capacity of the individual and how much his heart is inclined to the one who will he's submitting to. You know what I'm saying? And that's the simplicity that I think a lot of people struggle with because chaos has become such a normality in our society. You know what I'm saying? Chaos, confusion, all of these things that are contrary to finding peace and tranquility and ease in life have become a normality, and we've forged a sense of tranquility, ease, and something that, contradicts the whole concept of tranquility, ease, and peace. And I believe that, it's kind of like a certain, forced contentment that we impose on ourselves. Not so much of it the excuse of, that's all I seen. That's all they had. I grew up, that's all man, that's a lie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there was violence, there was drugs, there was other things, but there were other examples that were contrary to that. You just chose to be intrigued by those things. And because it's so repetitive, you think it's normal. You know what I'm saying? The square is the one that don't do it. The square is the one who has the, the zeal and the drive to do, what's contrary to what's repetitive and what's, consistent, in sight of, whatever, we see. But I believe that, it's every person's journey. You know what I'm saying? Some way, shape, in some place, regardless if it takes you longer or shorter. I mean, I think we all are striving to connect to that natural disposition, that natural inclination that we started out with in the first place. But the beautiful thing, Russ, when you look at some of the things, like if you take kids of all different ethnicities and put them in the playground, what they gonna do? They're gonna play. They're gonna enjoy each other's company. They're gonna play. Only society pits them against each other. So in their natural state
is love.
They're gonna play.
Let me say something, Loon, because I got it.
They're gonna share.
I want to say it in my other words, the same words. Every one of us, like it or not, is moving towards God. Like it or not. And we're letting go of those things that separate us from God over time, whether we like it or not. If you walk straight, right, and it's like having nails on either side. And when you go left or right, you scrape your arm on a nail, but you may not have an immediate karmic effect. And so you think right is okay. But when you walk straight, submission, is a happiness in that. But you have to get to the point. You may have to pinch your arm on a couple walls, you know what I mean? But when you walk straight with God, and when you do it from the heart, not because you're being forced, Therein lies your movement to enlightenment and to God's grace. You refer to taqwa in the Muslim faith. Yogis have
Hmm.
samadhi and Buddhists have nirvana. Christians have Christ consciousness. But this heaven on earth comes from full submission to God. Doesn't come from, the new car, house, sex. That it comes from, and so you let go of these things sometimes gradually, and you find the ease in not having them drag you down. So I just wanted to repeat in another way, because each scripture and each prophet and each religion and each spiritual practice that is the same in many cases, almost exactly the same. If it's become a great religion, it's great because it is the same as what is taught in the Quran. So what you're saying about walking straight from the heart, this is what a lot of people don't understand. So I don't want to do that. Well, you ain't ready to do it, maybe. Because they all say, I don't want to do that. What? You don't want to play music? No, I don't want to do that. I want to serve my community. Well, that's going to make you happy? Yeah. You told me, let's talk about we can talk
Yeah.
about religion and spirituality forever, but let's talk about your plans for the future in serving the greater good of mankind. You had some ideas you told me about briefly.
Yeah, definitely. I have a company, that's definitely been functioning for 11 years successfully in the East. It's called Tahor. And basically, it's a tech company, that does everything, from branding, marketing, what I'm saying, web development, mobile app development, what I'm saying, CEO, like anything that is considered a tech need for any type of build up, small, medium, or, a large company, so on and so forth. This company has the capability of providing any of those technical services. So what I've done is built a subsidiary branch of that company and brought it to the West. And not just for the purpose of competing with the Western market, but to also create some awareness and education for minority entrepreneurs and giving them the ability to have this same service that is, competitive to, I don't like to say our white counterparts, but, those who are, you know, more privy to having access to, you know, good technical, technology platforms. And I believe that, this next generation of kids, I mean, the internet has taken over our lives. Social media has taken over our lives. And I believe that, us as black and brown people in America, we're playing it from a novelty perspective. We're the consumer. We're the ones that, saying, you know, putting ourselves in financial duress and everything to get a new iPhone and so on and so forth. But had we had the education, the understanding how to provide those services instead of anticipating them or being a consumer to that service, I believe that puts minorities ahead of the curve. You know what I'm saying? And enables, this younger generation to learn more about how impactful technology and everything is in our lives and how it will continue to evolve. And what I want to do is just be able to support minority entrepreneurs and give them the same platform, that's prevalent amongst those who are successful in the tech field and those who use technology to make, to build out their businesses and so on and so forth, but also teach it. You know what I'm saying? Like teach coding, teach, web development, mobile app development, so on and so forth. So, we would be more instrumental in, producing or developing this type of technology in our communities opposed to just standing on long lines to get the next phone or the next whatever the case may be, while we can't be, instrumental in building this stuff.
Well, we learn. When you educate these young people, and they've already spent so much time, maybe even some of it's been wasted, but not really, because they get to learn what it is that's attractive, what it is that inspires them about the platforms they're they're on, the ones that are exploiting them. Maybe they'll be part of the infrastructures and owners of the infrastructures that will make more attractive these tools, because they understand the tools. They just don't understand how to monetize and create them. So you're going to teach them that.
Absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely. And that's empowering because I mean, I hear a lot about social and economic empowerment. And there's so many avenues to accomplishing that. But none of it is obtainable without knowledge. You know what I'm saying? There's a statement from a great scholar in Islam, and the statement is not just specific to Islam, but it's in general. It's a statement of al-ilmu qabla qawli wal amal. In Arabic, this means knowledge precedes speech and action. So a person shouldn't say anything or do anything without knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge precedes speech and action. Because without knowledge, then we're equivalent to animals. You know what I'm saying? Without implementing knowledge, you know what I'm saying, then we're only acting on our own whims and desires. So I believe that empowerment, and this is something that's always been told us as kids and, you know, generation to generation, the importance of knowledge. But what we teach is pinnacle in shaping and cultivating a generation of people who are, you know, knowledgeable, who are, you know, proactive, and, you know, make huge contributions, you know, to the society or communities that they live in. And that contributes to social and economic empowerment, you know. Because, like, you know, me coming home from prison, you know, I spent 9 years in federal prison, you know, or for hearsay and ghost dope. But we can get into that stuff as well in a
I
second. But
leave
it's just
that. You
like,
know, listen, you know,
you breaking up, right? Can't hear you.
oh, I did that right.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you did that.
Yeah, technology. So,
That's right.
um, a lot of artists reached out to you. I know Kanye reached out and Puff reached out, and you know, I spoke to a woman who said, "Loon is home. Have you spoken to him?" And so now I'm speaking to you. I'm not really interested in making music. I'm building a way for myself to serve my community. Let's see if we can get the community's position successful. Just leave it alone. The community, all these people are so successful to help you in your mission to help your community. That's where, you know, that's where, like, when you're not, I'm telling you that we live in such a world where people are worried about getting ahead. We
Yeah.
call Loon. Can I get Loon to jump on a song?
Yeah.
Let me call Loon and see if I could kind of use his, you know, because a lot of people come home from jail and right away they're heroes just because they've been locked up. I got an
Yeah.
artist who's locked up the last 10 years or so, who I raised as a child because he had been shot at 14 when he was at Def Jam. I put him in college. I paid for everything. I did everything for him. He's still calling me from prison, and I love him. But his what are you talking about, nigga? Like, you still talking about it? Well, you know, I'm in prison, Russ, and, you know, I'm going to do good when I get out. And I just, breaks my heart. I still love him. Still want him to come home, and if his dream is to be a rapper, to realize it. But what are you talking about? What'd you learn? So rappers will probably like him better than you after they meet him. They met him. He had a Def Jam deal. They met, oh, jump on my song. We don't really have our heroes, and we don't have a thirst for heroes who want to do good. And I don't mean that other things aren't good. We just have discernment when we choose good. I don't want to say other things aren't good. It's all God and it's all good. But what good we choose, a lot of it is not as sexy. So Loon, we got to keep you in the spotlight, and we got to keep your work in front of people. Say, yeah, you like Loon, that Loon's home. Can you help Loon execute and promote the things that will help his community, your community? And they show up at your charity event when you're in favor. Even if you're not paying attention, but they got it under your name. But if your mission is to really get people out of prison and you're working full time, unless you're in favor, you can't. I bought 100,000, someone said 1 million, a couple of 100,000 maybe, people, because Jay-Z showed up, Puffy showed up, the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, Wu-Tang Clan, everybody. And then Hillary Clinton showed. So they all showed up because of my celebrity, and we created a rally, and I negotiated a deal, and people came from jail. But I had to be a celebrity to get that done, because they wouldn't gonna do shit for nobody else. They didn't show up for it. So we gotta get people to support the people that we know and love, whose hearts are honest and our intentions are pure, and our mission is to lift people up. And it's not, you know, I mean, I was very, very focused on prison reform. We did change that law. I did a lot of it behind the scenes. But what happens in front of the scenes is what pushes the market. The collective is lost. We need leaders like you, not just voices like you, but leaders. So let's get behind Loon, his mission to empower people about technology, where we are the #1 users, brand builders of, and consumers of. I mean, we're everything. We are. If we say the iPhone ain't hot, that should have stopped selling. For real. If we say Pepsi is hot and Coke ain't, Coke is fucked. Excuse my language, brother. If we say that, it's just real. So if we say that we want to empower young people in the technology business, we want to teach them the code, we want to teach them this, and then we build an infrastructure around you, and you have an infrastructure, why can't we together get together and help you accomplish your mission? And therefore, we're doing our job, and then we make Loon's mission more accessible. Corporations think it's sexy. They'll invest in your work. We need AT&T. AT&T will invest in a lot of famous people. But will they just call it Loon and invest? Only if famous people join you. So we got to make that our business. That's my commitment to you, to help you as much as I can to get you with people who have honest intention or who think they can benefit. You got to figure out a way that they can benefit media-wise for their investment in you.
The benefit is, you know, changing people's lives, you know, giving people opportunities that we've already had. We had it. To me, I mean, I believe, like, you know, honestly, Russ, I mean, unless a person's heart is completely dead, whatever it takes to get any type of resurgence or, you know, reestablish a pulse, you know, it's warranted and is appreciated.
I don't judge people who live in this world and of this world. I'm not judging them. Look, I know that people got on the stage at the Rockefeller Drug Law rally. I remember people got on the stage who had never done any philanthropic, social, or political work at all for their community. And then they got exposed in a way that made them encouraged to do more. But it was about the exposure. And then they felt the mission some more than they felt it before. And they realized that by doing good, they got good. See, good givers are great getters. And they don't realize that sometimes the philanthropic, the social, and the political work they do for the greater collective is a way for them, it suits their all doing and getting at the same time. Doing good and getting good. Good givers, great getters. So they have to kind of ease out of the selfish to being free enough to give. And then if they get a return, they don't realize that in yoga philosophy and in Hindu philosophy more so, but it's taught by yogis, there's the goddess Lakshmi. And she blindly gives. Just gives. And as she's giving, diamonds are piling up at her feet. She don't know. She don't know that they're piling up at her feet. She just knows the resources never go away. So we just need people to pour resources into you. I think our hour is going to end, brother. But let me say this to you: I want to work for you. I want to work for
I
you in your
appreciate it.
mission, and I want to get as many people as I can to help you, and I want to stay in touch with you, and I want everybody who sees
Absolutely.
this to you know, maybe under when we post it, we can post information, so how they can get to support the work you do, or be in touch with your foundation, and so that we can be a supporter of your work. I'm very happy
Absolutely.
that you're here,
Absolutely.
and that you have the wisdom to share with these people who need you desperately. Hip hop needs you, right? So, and I'm glad that you already have reached out to, or people have reached out to you. Let them continue to do so.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I've had some great conversations with, a lot of people who were, once upon a time and still are my peers, who have acquired a lot of success, sports and entertainment. And I think that, as men, we definitely have an obligation to this generation. You know what I'm saying? We have an obligation. Like
You have.
I
We
believe
all
I believe
have, but
this.
you
Yeah,
have a calling.
yeah, yeah. Because I believe, Russ, there's two kinds of leaders in this world. And I'm going to say this in closing. You have those that lead and those that mislead, but you're still a leader. You know what I'm saying? And it's a choice. You can choose to lead people, to that which is correct and that which is for the betterment, what I'm saying, of their souls and their lives and so on and so forth. Or you can mislead people. You know what I'm saying? You can mislead them, what I'm saying, in a direction that leads to gradual destruction, in this life and the next. And when you come to understanding that, the responsibility becomes heightened. You know what I'm saying? It becomes more, what I'm saying, transparent and more clear. And that's basically what, this little stint I did gave me the opportunity to do, is to reflect and ponder on a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? So this is something that anybody that's busy knows. You don't get time like that. You don't get time to like slow down, recalibrate, think, especially when you're in the right now business. We both are very familiar. Doesn't matter what magnitude, but we know what the right now business is. There's a certain kind of consistent spontaneity that never stops, and you never get a chance to pull over and park. You know what I'm saying? And check your vitals and so on and so forth. You just go. So I was given an opportunity, and I believe that I don't have a single bitter thing to say about what took place. You know, it may have been some difficulty, some hardship, but there was way more benefit that outweighed, what I'm saying, the harm. So, I'm just happy to be here, Russ, and happy to be able to have the opportunity to do something. You know what I'm saying?
I'm happy to work for
With
you,
this,
with you, on your mission, and I'm deeply appreciative
definitely.
of you, brother.
No, definitely.
Deeply.
I'm gonna keep in touch with you, Russ. You know what
Man,
I
you
mean?
got my number, man. Hey, you can call me for anything. Come fuck with me too. I mean, I know you don't. Look, there's a lot of. This is the number one Muslim country in the world. The most
Yeah,
Muslims here, and they're peaceful and loving. And but I live in a Hindu.
yeah,
This island, Bali,
area.
is Hindu,
Bali, yeah,
and these people are deeply spiritual, happy people. And so you
yeah,
will love these people because you won't feel the pressure. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things, to live where people have God first, and the rest is so you'll like that.
yeah,
So you're welcome to come here. I built a big house, and the story behind that is he was coming in. I'm like, damn, he might not like the Ming Lee suite or Yoki Lee. He might not like these little, they're nice, but they're not. I'm not having my man come visit me, and I got to put him in the Four Seasons. So I built a whole separate house for him. But it's not for him. It's for
yeah,
Loon. It's for any of my friends who come and
yeah,
who are, you may have had a smaller place before, but they
yeah,
never seen nothing smaller. So I just got something big for them and for you. I love you, brother. Thank you
yeah.
for your time.
Man, I
God bless
appreciate
you.
it, Russ.
I appreciate you, man.
Definitely, man.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.